In 2026, making $100,000 a year no longer means you're rich. For a lot of people, it doesn't even mean you're comfortable. And once you see the math, it's hard to unsee it. There's a 34-year-old software engineer in Austin who makes $112,000 a year. He lives with two roommates, he drives a 2016 Honda Civic, and last month he had to put groceries on a credit card because his checking account hit $400 3 days before payday. He's not financially illiterate, he's not reckless, he's just living in America in 2026. And statistically, he's doing better than 70% of the country. So what the hell happened? For decades, 6 figures was the finish line, the number that meant you'd made it. Cross into that $100,000 threshold, and suddenly your house in the suburbs, 2-car garage, family vacations to Orlando territory. That was the promise. But somewhere between 2020 and now, that promise got shredded. Today, $100,000 is the new $50,000, and $50,000 is the new $25,000. The middle class isn't shrinking because people are getting poorer on paper. It's shrinking because the same income that used to build wealth now barely covers existence. This isn't a story about avocado toast or poor budgeting. This is about something deeper and more structural. An economic shift so quiet that most people don't realize they're caught in it until they're already underwater. And it starts with 3 numbers that broke everything. Let's go back to 2019 for a second. A 1-bedroom apartment in a mid-tier American city, let's say Denver, averages around $1,400 a month. A dozen eggs costs $1.89, the average new car payment sits at $550, gas is $2.60 a gallon. Now, freeze that in your mind. Between 2020 and 2023, 3 forces collided at exactly the same time: pandemic supply shocks, historic monetary expansion, and a housing market that went clinically insane. That same Denver apartment, $2,300 a month. Eggs hit $6 during the peak. Car payments jumped to $716, the highest in recorded history. Gas spiked past $5 in half the country. But here's the poison pill. Wages didn't move at the same speed. The average American salary grew about 18% from 2019 to 2024. Sounds decent, right? Except rent grew 34%, food prices up 25%, used cars up 40%, insurance, medical costs, utilities, every single category of non-negotiable spending exploded faster than income. So even if you got a promotion, even if you switched jobs and got a raise, you're still behind where you were 5 years ago in terms of actual purchasing power. You're running faster just to stay in the same place. And if you're making $100,000 in 2026, you have the buying power of someone making about $72,000 in 2019. You didn't get poor, the floor just dropped. Quick pause. If this is already sounding uncomfortably familiar, hit subscribe. This channel is about explaining why money doesn't work the way we were told it would. And drop a comment right now. Does a 6-figure salary feel comfortable where you live? Let's run the actual budget for that engineer in Austin. And let's be generous. Let's assume he's good with money. $112,000 gross. After federal tax, state tax, Social Security, Medicare, and a basic 401k contribution, he's taking home about $72,000. That's $6,000 a month. Rent for a room in a decent part of Austin because he can't afford a 1-bedroom alone, $1,100. Car payment, insurance, gas, maintenance, $600. Student loans, $420. Groceries for one person who meal preps and doesn't eat out much, $450. Phone, internet, utilities, subscriptions he actually uses, $200. Health insurance premium plus the occasions he actually uses it, $300. That's $3,470 right there. And we haven't talked about saving for a house, building an emergency fund, contributing more to retirement, or God forbid, dating someone and occasionally going to dinner. He's got $2,500 left, which sounds okay until you remember that this is supposed to be the income level where you're building wealth, where you're investing, where you're supposed to be winning. But he's not winning. He's treading water. And one medical emergency, one car breakdown, one surprise expense pulls him under. Now, multiply that person by millions. Here's where it gets darker. The traditional path to middle-class wealth in America has always been homeownership. You buy a house, you build equity,
You retire with an asset worth something. For 50 years, that was the playbook. But that door is closing. The median home price in the U.S. is now $420,000. With today's interest rates hovering near 7%, your monthly mortgage payment on that median home is $3,000 a month. Add insurance, taxes, maintenance, you're at $4,000 a month. To afford that without being house poor, you need to make at least $144,000 a year. That's double the median household income. So even our six-figure engineer can't buy in most markets. He'd need a partner who also makes six figures, or a gift from family. Or he waits another decade and hopes prices come down, which they won't because the people who already own homes have locked in sub-3% mortgages and have zero incentive to sell. We've created a two-tier system, the people who bought before 2021 and everyone else. And if you're in the everyone else category, congratulations, you're not building equity. You're paying someone else's mortgage forever. There's another cost nobody puts on a spreadsheet. Let's call it the stress tax. When you're making $100,000 and still living paycheck to paycheck, you start making decisions you shouldn't have to make. You skip the dentist because the copay feels too high. You don't take the vacation because you can't justify the flight. You say no to weddings, to trips, to seeing family because the marginal cost of existing has become so high that discretionary spending feels like financial self-sabotage. You stop investing in experiences. You stop taking risks. You stay at jobs you hate because the health insurance is decent. You don't start the business. You don't move for the better opportunity. And the psychological weight of that, of knowing you did everything right. You got the degree, you got the good job, you followed the script, and you're still stuck. That breeds something toxic: resentment, hopelessness, a quiet rage at a system that promised mobility and delivered a treadmill. The American middle class used to be defined by optimism, by the belief that your kids would do better than you. That's evaporating. A recent survey found that 68% of millennials believe they'll never be as financially secure as their parents were. And they're probably right. So where does this go? There are two paths. Either wages catch up, which would require structural changes to labor policy, housing supply, and corporate profit margins, or prices come down, which would require a recession ugly enough to break demand. Neither is happening right now. Instead, we're stuck in this weird purgatory where the economy looks fine on paper. Unemployment's low, GDP's growing, the stock market's up. But the actual lived experience for anyone trying to build a life on a middle-class income is borderline dystopian. The middle class isn't dying because people are lazy. It's dying because the cost of entry into a stable life has outpaced income growth for 2 decades straight, and we've normalized it. We've turned financial struggle into a personal failing instead of recognizing it as a policy failure. If $100,000 feels like poverty, the system isn't working, and no amount of budgeting apps or side hustles will fix that. That engineer in Austin, he's still there, still working, still hoping things get better. But he started looking at jobs in cheaper cities, and he stopped believing that hard work alone is enough because he's done the math, and the math doesn't care how hard you work. If this broke something open for you, subscribe. We're covering the economic shifts that nobody else wants to talk about honestly. Hit the bell, share this with someone who thinks they're the only one struggling, and drop a comment. What does $100,000 feel like where you live? Because this conversation is just starting.